Sleepers come in all shapes, sizes, and questionable paint jobs. But nothing could have prepared unsuspecting gearheads for the Volvo that decided it was done with PDA meetings and ready to throw down on the track. Volvo, the name alone, conjures up visions of safe, square wagons carting around golden retrievers and kids named Hugo. Known for being built like tanks and styled like bricks, Volvos were less vroom vroom and more voluntary nap mode. But then, in 1994, something unholy happened. Enter the Volvo 850T 5R. On the surface, still boxy, still looking like it should come with a child seat and a jazz cassette. But under the hood, that's where things got spicy. With a cheeky little boost from the mad lads at TWR, Tom Walkinshaw Racing. The same folks who thought, what if Jaguars could fly? Volvo stuffed in a turbocharged inline-5 that made turbo noises cooler than your cousin's mixtape. And the color? Banana yellow. Not sunshine yellow. Not canary yellow. Banana. Like, did you just get passed by a fruit? Yellow. The kind of color that screams, yes, I have cargo room, and yes, I will Gapplebees you. This was Volvo's rebellious teen phase. The T5R was fast, loudish, and had enough torque to make your grandma's meatballs slide off the table. It was the quiet kid in class who suddenly showed up in a leather jacket, doing donuts in the parking lot. And people loved it. The press was shocked. Car nerds drooled. Everyone else was just confused. But here's the kicker. Despite the T5RS cult status and Volvo fans begging for a sequel, the brand never really followed through. They flirted with performance here and there, but that raw, chaotic BTCC energy never quite returned. So here it stands, the Volvo 850T 5R, proof that even the nerdiest kid in school can just once turn up the turbo, peel out of the library lot, and become a legend, all while still being able to carry a bookshelf in the back. Every gearhead worth their 10mm socket knows the legend of the Buick GNX, the ultimate sleeper, the quiet kid who shows up to prom in a tux and runs a 12-second quarter mile. But to appreciate the beast it became, you've got to rewind to 1982, when it was just another two-door coupe with the swagger of a tax accountant. At a glance, man, nothing to see here. Your grandma might drive one to bingo. But here's the twist. Buick, clearly bored of making sensible cars for sensible people, decided to go full mad scientist. They took a turbocharged 8-liter V6, tossed it into the Regal, and boom, created the automotive equivalent of Clark Kent on a caffeine bender. Suddenly, this mild-mannered coupe was turning heads and roasting tires. It launched off the line like a cat that accidentally sat on a hot stove, all flailing limbs in pure chaos. And just like that, the Regal had street cred. It was quiet. It was fast. It was embarrassing Camaros and Mustangs at stoplights without breaking a sweat. But Buick wasn't done messing with the space-time continuum. Enter the GNX in 1987, the final form. Buick teamed up with ASC/McLaren. Yes, that McLaren, to really crank the insanity knob. Officially, it had 276 horsepower. Unofficially, it was closer to 300. Translation, it was sandbagging harder than your buddy who doesn't really play pool before clearing the table. The GNX wasn't just quick for a Buick, it was quicker than nearly everything else on the road, including some European exotics. All in a car that still looked like it should be parked outside a dentist's office. So what did we learn? Never underestimate the quiet ones, especially if they have a turbo, black paint, and a Buick badge. The GNX wasn't just a sleeper, it was a street-legal sucker punch in coupe form. Most people buy a Jeep because they like the idea of going off-road, or at least looking like they could if the mood struck. You know, for crawling over rocks, crossing rivers, or maybe just conquering the Starbucks parking lot in style. But what if you're craving something with a little more adrenaline? Like, I want to take the kids to soccer practice, but also gap a Mustang at the lights kind of energy? Well, in 2006, Jeep said, say less. Enter the Grand Cherokee SRT8. On the surface, it looked like your average family-friendly SUV. Spacious, practical, ready for a camping trip. But underneath, a different beast entirely. Jeep took one look at the Grand Cherokee and thought, what if we gave this thing the soul of a muscle car? So they shoehorned in a 1-liter Hemi V8, the kind of engine that makes bald eagles cry tears of pride. No turbochargers, no hybrid wizardry, just old school, naturally aspirated muscle. It made 420 horsepower, sounded like thunder having a tantrum, and launched this SUV from 0 to 60 in under 5 seconds. In 2006, that was supercar territory for a vehicle that could also haul groceries and a golden retriever. Sure, the Trackhawk came later and blew everyone's minds with 700-plus horsepower and Hellcat insanity. But people expected that to be fast. The SRT-8? That was the sneak attack, the mullet of the SUV world. Business up front, full burnout in the back. It still had Jeep DNA. It could handle a dirt trail, no problem. But it was just as happy lighting up pavement, embarrassing sports cars, and making people wonder what on earth just passed them at the lights. The SRT-8 didn't just rewrite what a Jeep could be. It launched it into an entirely new category, the "oh no, it's keeping up" club. And it did it all with leather seats, room for 5, and a dash of attitude. On paper, the Lotus Carlton sounds like a weird automotive Mad Lib. Take a sleepy Vauxhall sedan, toss in some GM funding, rummage through the parts bin, and voila. Doesn't exactly scream supercar, does it? But then Lotus got involved, and everything changed. Yes, Lotus, the small British company known for building featherweight sports cars and adding the handling finesse of a caffeinated ninja to whatever they touch. They looked at the Carlton and said, let's ruin some egos. So they sprinkled their engineering magic over the humble family saloon and turned it into a proper monster. The result? A 3.6-liter twin-turbocharged inline-six, pushing out 377 horsepower in 1990. Let that sink in. This wasn't just a fast sedan. This was a supercar in disguise, a 4-door executive missile capable of hitting 177 miles per hour and embarrassing Ferraris, while still carrying your golf clubs and 2 screaming toddlers in the back. To say it caused a stir would be an understatement. British tabloids lost their minds. Politicians wanted it banned. They called it too fast for the public roads, which, translated, meant we don't like being overtaken by a Vauxhall in our BMWs. And that's kind of the point. The Lotus Carlton was the original "how is that thing so fast" machine. It looked like your dad's company car, but it had the heart of a raging lunatic. Unfortunately, all good chaos must come to an end. Production fell short of the planned 1,100 units. Only around 950 were built. No sequel, no reboot, no spiritual successor. Just one glorious flash of brilliance from Lotus and Vauxhall that's never been repeated. So, the Carlton remains a legend, the ultimate 1990s power flex. A car that said, yes, I wear a suit, but I also bench press Ferraris for fun. At first glance, the Mercedes C32 AMG looks like it just left a retirement community in Florida. For doors, silver paint, maybe a polite little chrome strip here and there. Sure, there are a few AMG badges if you squint hard enough, but let's be honest, they look about as threatening as a stern librarian. But don't be fooled. This is not your average middle management company car. Underneath that beige on beige, exterior beats the heart of a hooligan. A supercharged 2-liter V6 cranking out 349 horsepower. Enough to make your coffee spill if you sneeze on the throttle. And yet nobody noticed it. Mercedes pulled off the ultimate disappearing act. It was fast, it was refined, but it was also so subtle, it could have moonlighted as a witness protection vehicle. This wasn't a car that shouted, "Look at me." It whispered, "Good luck catching me." In today's world of shouty AMGs with quad exhaust the size of trash cans, flared arches, and enough carbon fiber to build a stealth bomber, the C32 feels like it came from time when performance was more about what you felt than what you could Instagram. Less flex, more finesse. And that low-key vibe, it didn't exactly help it fly off dealership lots. Most people looking for an AMG wanted the noise, the presence, the angry body kit, and fire-breathing V8 soundtrack. But the C32? It was the silent killer. The kind of car that could beat you in a drag race and pick up dry, cleaning afterward. So yeah, it didn't sell in huge numbers. But for those who got it, the C32 was a masterclass in subtle savagery. Proof that sometimes the loudest thing on the street doesn't need to make a sound.